tough.
The top 8.
The top 8.
When I look at the top 8 and think I'm the best player, you know.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, even in the top 8, what are you like, 12.5% to win?
Assuming you're the same as everyone else. Yeah, assuming it's a lottery, right? And assuming you bought the same number of tickets as everyone else, it's 12.5%.
12.5%.
But
yeah.
I like to think that if I'm better than other people, I have a couple extra lottery tickets in my pocket.
You think if maybe you have some more skills, or you brought your A game today?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Absolutely.
Well, it's really tough to win tournaments, but it's not that tough if you're really dedicated to grind the Star City Open Series, get enough points, queue for the Invitational. Pull a Max Teats, make it in 12-4 a couple of times.
Yeah.
And he's our Invitational winner. Brad Nelson's our Invitational winner. Eric Smith's an Invitational winner. We have a lot of Invitational winners now.
Yeah. Matt Costa certainly is one of the more talented players to play on the Star City circuit. One of the more talented players even on the Wizards circuit. He did say about this matchup that this matchup is doesn't play to exactly what he wants because this matchup he feels focuses more on the decks and has fewer decisions in it, which means it'll be harder for him to outplay his opponent.
Okay. Yeah, Costa was saying that he thought his worst matchups were decks with Sphinx's Revelations.
Which there are none of.
Yeah, which there's none of. But also, against the very aggressive decks, game 1, he's not that well set up against them. After board, it gets a lot better because he's able to, take out his Rakdos Return. He's able to take out a lot of the slower cards and bring in cheaper stuff like Anger of Gods, Doomblade, even something like Golgari Charm would help out.
Yeah, remember, and this red-white aggro deck is not red-white Devotion. Red-white Devotion is kind of this big red deck almost.
Yep.
This is actually almost a mono-red aggro deck. This falls into that small creatures aggro that you think of.
Exactly. All right, so Costa will lead off with a Blood Crypt. And Chris just has a Sacred Foundry there. Let's see what his turn 2 play is. Maybe to Ash Zealot?
Yeah, they trade a pair of fetch lands, and the telltale thing when a mono red deck with so many 1-drops doesn't play a 1-drop, and they kept on 7, you have to assume there's 2 creatures coming down on turn 2.
Yeah, especially with Burning Tree Emissary is super powerful here. Costa does have an Abrupt Decay, and I believe a Scavenging Ooze.
Yeah, so that's going to be great. It's going to let him, first of all, kill one of these creatures, and then eat it, have a potent blocker, and gain a life.
Okay, exactly. So it looks like Costa, even though he mulliganed, his hand is pretty good. He has lands, he has some cheap spells. That's all you can really ask for with a Jund deck like Costa.
Yeah, well, as is the way the Jund deck plays, all it's really trying to do is kill things and play more lands until it can start playing its late game.
Exactly. All right, so Chris swings in with both his guys. There's an Abrupt Decay. Costa will fall down to 18 here. And no follow-up play?
Yeah, Butcher did have a Chandra's Phoenix that turn. He opted not to play it.
What does he have instead?
I don't know the other card in his hand at the moment, but he's playing a little more of a conservative game that could hurt as every turn that this game goes on does play in Costa's favor.
Do you think Chris is worried about like an Anger of the Gods or something?
Yeah, I mean, and that certainly is something. Now, these players do have access to the other one's deck list.
They do, and Costa does have 2 main deck Anger of Gods.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting because if he does have the Chandra's Phoenix in his hand, he could even play like a post-combat Chandra's Phoenix.
Right, once Costa plays that Abrupt Decay, I think that it's like the jig is up. You kind of know that he doesn't have the Anger of the Gods.
Exactly. All right, so there's a Chain to the Rocks on the Scavenging Ooze.
That's pretty potent here too.
Yeah, definitely really good. And he's going to tap 3 for the Chandra's Phoenix. So now he's going to get in for 4 damage. Costa's going on to 14.
Yeah, so Costa definitely on the back foot here. There was a Mutavault made that turn as well for Butcher, so he does have 6 damage on the board.
Yeah, surprisingly enough, Costa does have the Anger of the Gods.
Yep, so there's going to exile a 2. A pretty good play there. No, those are actually exiled.
Yep.
That does matter because Costa does have Scavenging Oozes in his deck.
And it matters because the Chandra's Phoenix could actually come back if it was in the graveyard.
Right.
All right, so Chris draws for his turn. Looks like a spell. Mutavault's going to get activated. Costa goes down to 12. And there's a Rampager.
Or Gorehouse Chainwalker.
Oh, Chainwalker, yeah.
Yeah, the 3-2. So still a good clock represented by Butcher. He has Costa has managed to stay at 12, which isn't too bad here. And now is going to try to stabilize the board with Pelucranos World Eater.
All right, Pelucranos, hopefully for Costa, he'll be able to untap with it. I see another Chain to the Rocks, though.
Yeah, and we'll see he's going to chain that one to a different mountain.
All right, and he's going to be able to swing in for 5. Costa's on 7. Costa's pretty low right now.
It's getting low. Remember that Chris Butcher's deck is playing lightning strikes as well as shocks. It doesn't have too much direct damage, so Costa can get lower than you'd think. He doesn't actually have a card like Boros Charm.
Okay, but Costa has a nice play here because Costa does have an Abrupt Decay, so he's going to be able to Abrupt Decay one of the Chain to the Rocks, and he'll be able to get back his creature.
Yeah, and he can do that in combat, especially if Butcher swings here. He can get the Pelucranos back and block.
Yeah, so actually things are kind of, turning towards Matt Costa's favor, especially with that second Scavenging Ooze that he just played.
Right. Mizium Mortars takes care of Scavenging Ooze. Now both players down with 1 card in their hand. Chris's card is a Mountain. He's going to swing both his creatures, and now
There's the Abrupt Decay.
Decay is going to hit Chain to the Rocks. And out on call, here's Pelukrinos.
What do you want to take out here?
I want to take out the Mutavault.
Just take out the Mutavault?
While I have the chance, I want to take out Mutavault.
Okay, so going up to 5.
Yep. I think 1 point of damage is worth getting the hard to deal with creature off the board.
Okay, but that 1 point of damage could be relevant because Chris does have a card like Shock in his deck. So Lightning Strike plus Shock now is 5 damage, is lethal, where he would actually need double Lightning Strike.
What Costa can do now is he can use Pelukrinos to remove the Gorehouse Chainwalker, whereas he couldn't. He'd have to hold up his lands for all the time.
Mutavault?
Okay. For Mutavault.
That's definitely fair.
Pelukrinos is going to go ahead and attack right now.
Oh,
and
the
then
Reaper
of the Wilds.
Wow.
A great draw off the top for Costa.
It really is. He'll need to draw something good here.
We see a Shock, so that's 2 damage taken care of.
Oh,
2
was
down,
a shock.
3 to
Wow.
2 down, 3 to go.
Okay.
next card, Lightning Strike. Come on, top deck.
Yeah. Now, it's pretty sad. The Chainwalker can't really do anything here.
No, it's really
it
not
can't
a
swing
card.
in. You know, it can't even chump block. So I think Chris is going to have to pass a turn, and Chris is going to have essentially 1 draw step to try to find a burn spell.
He has to, and the only thing he can get is Lightning Strike.
Lightning Strike?
Yep, he's on a
4-outer?
4-outer.
Okay, 4-outer is not the worst here.
No, it's about a 10%.
Yeah.
A little 10 or maybe 9, probably more like 9.
Yeah, Costa's thinking if there's anything he could play around. He's just going to swing with the Polychronos there.
Yeah, this is still a heads up play by Costa. This is still a 2-turn clock.
Yep. And it'll draw.
And it's
Temple. Not going to do it.
Watch, this is going to be a Lightning Strike.
Yeah, probably, right?
No,
it goes right to the bottom.
And I don't think Butcher's going to get another turn, but we will see here.
So Costa could activate the Polychronos. And I think that's exactly what he's going to do.
End step, he's going to monstrous it for X equals 2. That will make it a 7/7, and Chris will scoop it up.
All right, so Costa on the draw, on the mulligan. He still pulled it out.
Yeah, so that had everything going in Chris's favor. It was the pre-board game, which is probably the best game from the 3. He was on the play, and his opponent was on the mulligan. Costa was still able to find a way to win. Puts him ahead. So these two players are going to go to the sideboard, but while they go to the sideboard, we are going to go back to the booth. For those of you who stayed with us, we do a giveaway during the top 8.
We always do a giveaway. It's great. I love it. People at home love it.
Everybody loves it. So how do you play in this giveaway? What are the rules?
All right, so basically the rules are pretty simple. We're going to ask you a question. It might be a hard question. It might be an easy question. Regardless, you could always copy the other people's answer who tweets in if you wanted to do that. basically, what we want you to do is to tweet at SCG Live. You want to hashtag premium.
It has to have the hashtag SCG premium on it to be considered.
All right, and we'll ask a simple question. You'll respond. If you get it right, you go into a pool, essentially like a lottery. If you win, you get some free months of premium, 3 months, 6 months, and then eventually a full year.
So this is the top 8. We're going to start this out easy. These are about the Star City Games Invitational coming up in not 1, not 2, but 3 weeks. The first question is, in what city will the Star City Invitational be hosted in 3 weeks?
Only the city or the city and state? We'll make it a little more. What about city and state? City and
what
state.
City and state? And state.
We have to teach everybody the geography of United States.
All right. We're going to teach them geography. In what city and state? Yes. So we do want the state. If the answer just has city, you'll only be half credit. And we're not going to take half credit answers.
Okay.
So make sure, post that at SCG Live, and make sure you have the hashtag SCG Premium on it, and you'll be entered in the drawing. At the end of the top 8, we will announce our winner.
Yep, and it's the last invitational of the year. I'm excited for it. You're going to be doing commentary there.
Yep, I'm in the booth along with Cedric Phillips and Osip Levadovich.
Oh, that's a great team. Great team right there.
Awesome. I'm excited. There's great guys to work with.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. All right, so Matt Costa up a game. Will he take it down? I don't know.
Well,
maybe.
He's going to be on the draw again, but you said before that this matchup got a lot better for Costa after board.
Yes.
So walk us through it.
Okay, so basically Costa's able to kind of sculpt his deck in a way where he could bring in a lot of cheap removal and just more efficient cards and take out kind of like the slower, clunkier stuff versus a very aggressive red-white deck. For example, Rakdos Return. Does Costa really want Rakdos Return in this matchup? Probably not. Even something like Read the Bones. Read the Bone is just too slow. And,
life is making his opponent draw a card almost.
Exactly. So I think Costa's going to take out the Read the Bones. He's going to take out the Rakdos return. And he could also bring in cheaper stuff. He could bring in more Anger of Gods. He could bring in Doom Blades. He could bring in Golgari Charm. So he can kind of sculpt his deck the way he wants.
Yeah, I think he has a lot of cards he doesn't really want. He has those returns. He has the Read the Bones. He even has Thought Seizes, which are they're very good in the matchup.
Yeah, so he's probably going to cut all of them, or at least trim them, and just bring in some cheaper removal and, be on his way.
Yeah, so one of the advantages that Jund has had in the past and does have now is that its sideboard's probably better than any other deck.
Yes,
so,
exactly.
Chris Butcher does have some sideboard available to him. He can play, he has 3 Peak Eruptions in the sideboard. And that's actually a pretty potent weapon against Jund. Jund needs to hit its land drops to be able to function.
Very good.
So I think the 3 Peak Eruptions are a really good option for him, especially that he's on the play.
And Costa has 9 mountains in his deck.
Yeah, it should have a target.
Yeah, he has 4 Blood Crypts, 4 Stomping Grounds, and 1 mountain. So I think Peak Eruption is going to be very, very good here.
Yeah, the other cards, Boros Charm is these are all for other matchups. Anger's for smaller decks, Boros Charm is for control decks, Boros Reckoners for green mid-range decks, but I don't. So it would come in against something like green-red Devotion, but because Matt's playing so much removal, I'm not sure he's going to bring in the Reckoners here.
Yeah, no, I don't think he's going to bring in the Reckoners here. I also think Shock is not that good for Chris here. I mean, what is he really going to shock? Is he just going to shock Costa? I mean, he could shock Costa, but other than that, Ooze might be tough to shock, and other than Ooze, there's just nothing else that he could really shock from Costa's deck. I think Mizzium Mortar is more powerful.
No, Shock just goes upstairs. That's about it.
Yeah, but I think Mizzium Mortar is more powerful, so he's able to actually have an answer to Stormbright Dragon just in case Costa starts, getting some momentum.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's not the game plan that, removing Costa's threats isn't the game plan that Chris wants to be on, but it might be the game plan he's forced to be on.
Yeah, because even Ooze, it's unlikely a Shock's going to take down an Ooze, where Mizzium Mortars, we even saw it last game, is able to take down an Ooze.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think Chris is still a slight dog here, just because Costa is up a game and Costa is able to, kind of sculpt his deck. And Jund loves to play sideboard games.
On the play, I like this for Chris. This game, I feel like he's about 50-50 to get, but if he gets it, game 3 is going to be a slog for him.
Yeah, all right. And they're looking at each other's deck list. All deck lists are public information, so they're able to, kind of talk about how are you going to sideboard, what do you think I'm going to bring in, what do you think you're going to bring in. So both these Magic players seem, pretty friendly here. So it looks like they're just going over their sideboard plans one more time. Yeah, so Costa will be on the draw. He is up a game. He was the 8 seed with Jund. Chris with the red-white aggro deck. Do you like the red-white aggro deck, say, over the mono-red devotion deck?
I don't actually right now.
No, you don't? Okay.
It's had more success.
The number 1 seed.
He's the number 1 seed, and it's actually, today, it has had more success than the devotion deck has had at that today. So maybe I'm wrong.
Why do you think that is?
Well, why is the red-white deck having more success?
I think a lot of it.
I think a lot of it can be matchup dependent. Typically, the devotion decks, I think, the red-white, I guess the fast aggro decks are better against the devotion decks, right?
Sure.
So if there was a lot of mid-range and a lot of devotion, then the smaller red-white aggro is probably the better choice.
Yeah.
Where the devotion decks become better is when your format has more control in it. The red devotion deck is very good against, say, Esper.
Okay, that's understandable. Yeah, and Chris actually has 4 main deck Chains of the Rock. So if he played against any of the mono blue devotion decks, he has a lot of answers to Master of Waves.
That is a lot of Chain to the Rocks, especially in a deck like this.
Yes, and Master of Waves, as we know, is the best card against the mono red devotion deck. Best card against just any red aggro deck in general.
It's probably the best card against almost every deck.
Almost every deck in the format?
Yeah, it's just the best card in the mono blue deck.
Yeah, I mean,
think so.
It's super powerful. I think mono blue plays, all the powerful cards that you want to play because Jace, Night Veil Spectre, and of course Master of Waves and Thassa, they all work well together, and they're all individually very powerful cards.
Yeah, it's finding a shell that you can play all 4 of those cards.
Yeah. I mean, even in Master of Waves, where your devotion is 2, it's still really, really good.
Still 6 power.
Yes, 6 power for 4 mana, and it's spread across, and if you're playing against a red deck, they're not going to be able to kill Master.
Exactly.
Yeah. So did anybody get our answer correct yet?
We've had a couple.
A couple?
We've had a couple people who only put the city.
Only put the city.
And I'm going to say, dude, guys, you got to follow directions.
You got to follow the rules. That's how it goes. All right, so city and the state, where the next Star City Invitational is going to be in just 3 weeks already.
Yeah, only 3 weeks away.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's coming right up.
Yeah,
so
it really is.
If you're planning on going, if you've top 8'd, or if you are going to win that IQ this weekend, make sure you get your ticket. It's going to be loads of fun. Even if you aren't qualified for the Invitational, there is a Standard Open and there is a Legacy Open
Yeah,
that occur that weekend too. It is a regular Star City Open on top of the Invitational.
And there's a Seal Deck Classic on Sunday. If you love Seal Deck, you can play that.
Yeah, it's
a
a
lot.
great weekend.
Yeah, $75,000 in prizes. It's that's a lot right there. I don't think the city that it's going to be in has ever saw $75,000.
No, I don't think anyone's ever brought $75,000 to Las Vegas. To what? Oh, whoa.
Did someone just give away the answer?
Before? No.
Oh,
Oh, man.
Oh, my.
It's terrible.
Glenn, get in the booth, Glenn. Come on.
All right. You know what? Yeah.
All right, so
leave that
Chris
one
is
be.
going to mulligan here.
All right, so Chris on 6.
And Chris kind of looks devastated on that mulligan. Mulliganing's not that bad. Even though I'm normally against it, it's not that bad.
I believe I've heard you quoted as saying that you'd rather lose than mulligan.
That is true, but losing's not that bad either. For the most part.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so it looks like Costa might still be in the tank here, looking at his hand. I feel like Costa is probably going to keep this. For the most part, no. Is he going to? Wow, he's going to mulligan. Wow, I really wish, Costa could run over right here and tell us what his hand actually was.
Well, I'm going to guess Costa's pretty safe with his mulligans.
He really is.
I played him with him a lot. He's a, he doesn't like hands with variance in them.
Okay.
So if it was something like, say, like a
two-lander or five-lander
with missing a, maybe it was like a 2-lander missing a color.
Okay.
He's probably just like not going to keep that no matter what's in it.
Yeah, I think most players are. Do you think most players are more likely or less likely to mulligan when their opponent already mulliganed?
Less likely.
Less likely. Yeah, that's what I think too.
I think it's less likely because when your opponent mulligans, you're like, oh man, if I can keep this 7-card hand, I'm gonna beat him.
Exactly, because he's already mulliganing.
You feel like if you mulligan, you lose your advantage.
Yep.
Which I think is really the wrong way to look at it.
Because other people actually mulligan more because their opponent mulliganed. Because they can say,
well, you can afford to.
Exactly. It's like, well, my opponent mulliganed, so I should mulligan too to try to get a better hand. Especially if the hand's kind of iffy. It's really tricky to kind of think about it. So both players are going to 6. I think if both players are going to 6, I feel like Costa still has the advantage with his Jund deck. Just because he has access to Anger of Gods.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is that if both decks keep hands of 3 lands, 3 spells, that really favors Costa. Matt, so Chris will maybe Chris has one more creature that Matt has removal, but because he can't play his hand as fast, Matt will get those extra turns with which to build up to something like Gravery of the Wilds, and then he doesn't care about whatever board Chris has established.
Exactly. And I mean, how can Chris really make up the card disadvantage here? If there was card disadvantage, where Costa could just go Anger of Gods 2 for 1 year, right?
Yeah.
He could play Polychronos and again 1 for 0.
Think about this. Think about like a 5-land 1-spell hand from Chris and a 5-land 1-spell hand from Costa. Like it's very likely that both players kept something like that Costa's would just be a significantly better 1 card.
Yep. Exactly. All right. So we'll see what happens here. And both players are taking their time shuffling. There's a bunch of other matches going on. All 3 other matches are still in progress, so if these guys happen to get finished early, we'll definitely switch you over to another match. We'll see what deck is going to take down SCG Providence. Remember, tomorrow morning, we're going to come back about 8 o'clock in the morning, and we're going to play the top 4 and then the finals. Then we're moving on to Legacy, which is, my favorite format by a lot. Besides for Limited, besides for Vintage, Modern's up there. So Legacy's probably like 4th or 5th.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see
call
how
it my favorite for
Grand Prix DC has affected the Legacy meta. We're in the same part of the country, so a lot of the same players.
Yep.
But the format, when something like a Legacy Grand Prix happens, the format almost always changes right after it.
It does, but the players who are always playing their pet decks, I think are still
going to play their pet decks.
And they're just going to change their sideboard to try to beat those more popular decks now.
Right.
Yeah. All right, so they're off. A Rakdos Cackler from Chris. Let's see what
6 on 6.
What does Costa have here?
At least 3 lands in Costa's hand.
All right,
there's a excellent temple for his deck.
Yeah, and leading off with the Temple is pretty strong. All right, so Chris will draw Mizium Mortars. Mutavault hits him for 2. Does he have a follow-up play, do you think?
Well, the Mutavault is kind of a follow-up play. He does have some Burning Tree at least 1 Burning Tree Emissary in his hand.
Sure.
Not going to be able to cast that one yet, as he doesn't have the 2nd red.
Yeah, and what's really nice that Mutavault, you can't get Abrupt Decay by Mutavault. Like right now, you're like, oh, he's got a Swamp, he has green, Abrupt Decay. Well, Mutavault's safe from Abrupt Decay.
Mutavault is safe. He did draw a Sacred Founder this turn, so now he's going to be able to fire off the rest of his hand. He's going to shock to go to 18.
Is it what is it, Ashes Zealot maybe? Okay,
he's going to start with Burning Tree Emissary, the one we knew he had. I think he uses one of the mana off that to activate Mutavault.
Okay.
His hand, yeah,
Try to
his hand
swing it for 4 here.
tried to swing for 4. He does have Lightning Strike in his hand in addition to Mizium Mortars right now. He has a
Okay.
3rd card as well.
Yeah. Now, normally creatures are better than burn, especially early on in the game.
Yep, the creatures are burn that burns more than once.
Yeah, exactly.
We see the Cacklers taken down by an Abrupt Decay. Matt Costa stays at a healthy 16 life.
Yeah.
We see at least 1 Anger of the Gods in his hand.
Yeah, I think it might have been 2 Anger of Gods.
Yeah, I'm with you. He draws Hero's Downfall for the turn.
So I see an Overgrown Tomb and a Stomping Ground. What do you think Costa wants to lay here?
Well, it's interesting whether or not he even wants to shock to play something like Anger of the Gods because he's taking 2 damage to prevent 2 damage when he makes that play.
Yeah.
So if he has anything else he can do with his turn, he probably will do it.
All right, so he should have played Stomping Ground, tapped, and passed the turn.
Yeah, it's like, so if he shocks and Anger of the Gods, he saves 2 life, but he loses that the upside that the card could have.
Exactly.
And
Because
so
the card could be a 2 for 1.
It could be a 2 for 1 if he
Yeah.
waits, so waiting is correct here.
Okay, so Costa's going out to 12, and it looks like Chris is just going to play a Mountain and pass the turn here. He might go for a Lightning. Like, would you ever just like Lightning Strike the Dome?
Eventually, yeah, when my opponent's at 3, I would really like to Lightning Strike.
Would you
the
ever
Dome.
like dome him from 12 here?
No, I don't think Costa has a way to disrupt it. If he casts the Thought Seize, I might dome him in response to the
Okay,
Thought
yeah,
Seize.
that's fair.
But that's the only, right? That's the only way he gets rid of it?
Yeah. Yeah, he's not going to have his Rakdos returns in his deck anymore, I don't think.
I'd be very surprised if he did.
Yeah.
And Butcher's going to make a second Mutavault. That's actually becoming very relevant. These
It
Mutavaults
really
are going
is.
to be hard for Costa to deal with.
I mean, Costa does have a Harrow's Downfall, which he'll be able to take out one of them.
Yeah, his best answer to cards like Mutavault is stuff like Reaper of the
I was
Wild.
about to say,
It's a
yeah, Reaper
creature.
would be so good here.
Yeah, dealing with Mutavaults with spells is really difficult for Costa's
Ooh,
deck.
Costa left it on top. It makes me think maybe it's something like a Scavenging Ooze.
I would think it's a creature.
Yeah. All right, so Costa's almost certainly going to Hero's Downfall one of the Mutavaults here. Now, I'm kind of surprised that Chris doesn't have a Hammer in his deck. Wouldn't it be pretty nice, like maybe on the sideboard?
Mm-hmm.
Especially in this type of a matchup.
Yeah, Hammer is something he's opted. I was gonna say something that people play instead of Burning Earth. He has neither in his sideboard. He
Yeah.
was-
I
which
guess
might-
he's banking on Chandra.
It
for
might
kind
have
of that.
shown his success today. Those are cards that are usually played in the deck so that it has a better Esper matchup.
Yeah.
But there wasn't any Esper here today. Maybe Chris just used his slots to improve his other matchups.
Yeah. All right. So I'm not sure what it was. It looks like it might have been. Looks like a green creature, doesn't it?
Yeah. Or he has another Hero's Downfall.
He does. So I think that's going to be his line this turn.
Yeah. Butcher's dangerously drawing a lot of removal. He has Chain to the Rocks and Mizium Mortars. There's always that danger in your deck that you're hurting your own matchups.
Exactly.
You do that. Now, what we should note is that Costa's at a virtual 1 life right now. Butcher does have a Boros Charm and a Lightning Strike in
Yep.
hand. So that's 7.
Oh, so he's going to make
He's
all
gonna
his guys
indestructible.
indestructible.
Ooh.
All right. So Costa's goes down to, well, it's not that much of a difference, right? Because Costa's on a virtual 3 now. And if Chris
Yeah.
did board out a Shocks like we think he did, then he's still going to need to draw a Boros Charm or he's still going to need to draw another Lightning Strike.
Right.
Yeah. And now he has Mutavault in play, which might potentially be more damage.
Yeah, but it's going to be less damage as we see here
Because of the Scavenging Ooze.
Scavenging Ooze.
Yeah. So that was the card. I was right when I assumed that was the card he left on top.
All right, Costa goes up to 7 and now owns a 3/3 Scavenging Ooze.
Okay, so Chris will draw for the turn. There's a Temple, not the worst draw here.
Yeah, this Scavenging Ooze did turn on some of the removal that
Yep.
Butcher has. So he's going to start out with a Mizium Mortars for the Scavenging Ooze.
He's going to
Temple
play
to
his
scry.
Temple. Let's see. If he leaves it on top, it's most
That's
likely a burn spell.
Yeah, that's dangerous for Costa if it's on top, and it is.
Yeah, and now he's going to swing it with the Mutavault. Costa's on a virtual 2. He's on 5, and we know that Chris still has a Lightning Strike in his hand.
Yeah, he has lands, Anger of the Gods, and this should be it, and just lands and Anger of the Gods. So a Chandra's Phoenix was the card left on top by
Okay.
Butcher. Here we go, Phoenix in play,
Yeah.
Mutavault activated.
He's going to try to bring Costa to 1.
Yeah, and Chris has the Lightning Strike in his hand. I don't think Costa has enough life gain for this
No.
to matter.
He had no outs here, and Costa just scoops it up. So it's a game 3. Just like that, they're in game 3. Chris evens up the score, and you can see his friend in the background with the blue hoodie is just like, yes, yeah, come on, Chris.
All right, so as I said before, that one was about a 50-50. You know, Chris played it pretty tight.
Yeah,
I
they
really
both
liked how he
mulliganed.
played that game.
Yeah, he definitely played well.
Yeah.
Gotta give him credit there. Costa played well too, but it was just nothing he could have done. He had too much of like the wrong removal and didn't have a threat and just not enough life gain.
That's where the deck misses Thragtusk
Yeah,
really badly.
Or Huntmaster. I mean, there was so much life gain in the deck.
Yeah, just how hard is it for Chris to win if Costa would just be like Huntmaster,
Sure.
gain 2, go.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh man.
Yeah. Well, Costa will be on the play for the first time in top 8. So is that going to be a big difference, do you think?
I think it absolutely helps.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the matchups where being on the play versus draw doesn't matter as much, especially when you look at Costa's game plan. His game plan is just to kill stuff and kill a bunch of stuff. Where it does help is because Costa's removal curve starts on 2.
Okay.
So say we had a game where it was like Chris goes 1-drop, Costa plays a tap land, Chris hits for 2, plays a guy, and then Costa starts removing every guy that Chris plays. In that game, Chris will continue to get to hit for 2 with his 1-drop over and over.
Okay.
So to like do 6, 8 damage.
Sure.
Whereas when Costa's on the play, the removal curve bumps one in Costa's favor, so he doesn't actually ever take damage off the 1-drop.
Okay.
So the advantage of being on the play is that if Chris curves out, Costa takes 0 as opposed to taking 2 a turn.
Okay, I think the one card that Costa really wants to see here, he wants to see a turn 2 Sylvan Carotid.
That's a great play.
Very, very important. It will allow Costa to ramp his mana. Also, an 0-3 is really good. An 0-3 with hexproof in this matchup is very, very good.
Yeah, I mean, Costa, the thing that happened in that matchup is that there's these 2 cards that Costa really needs in the matchup, and they're Pelucranos and Reaper of the Wilds.
Okay. Okay.
And, you know, those cards, like, they stabilize the ground for him.
Sure, sure. All right, now he's got an update. Luis wins, and he's going on to the top 4.
Yeah, Luis Alfonso in the blue mirror actually takes down Ari Lax, so Ari is done for the tournament.
Yeah.
Luis will be waiting the winner of this matchup.
Okay, so will it be Jun versus Mono Blue Devotion, or will it be Red White Aggro versus Mono Blue Devotion? As you can see, Luis is in the background right now. Who do you think he's pulling for here? Like, do you think he has a better matchup against Jun or a better matchup versus the Red White Aggro deck? I think he has a bad matchup against both.
Yeah, I don't think he's particularly happy with this draw. I would go for... I think I'd rather play against the red deck.
Yeah, I think I would rather play against red deck,
but I'm not thrilled about it either.
Yeah, because Costa was saying he thinks that the Mono Blue deck is just a really, really good matchup for him.
Yeah, and I think Costa's right.
Yeah, I think so too.
Removal, the deck has just enough removal to not get steamrolled, and then it has good creatures with which to not care about the other threats.
Yeah, I think the only thing that Costa would go back and change, knowing that if he does win here in the top 4, he's going to play against the Mono Blue Devotion deck, is just to max out on the Mistcutter Hydras. Those cards are just so good. You know, he has 2 Mistcutter Hydras in the sideboard. Imagine if he had 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's you know, it's tricky when you go to a tournament, you don't know what you're going to play against, right? He's kind of hedging. He's like, okay, I'll have 2 Mistcutter Hydras, I'll have 2 Duresses, I'll have 2 Anger of Gods in my sideboard, I'll have 1 Siren Insanity. But if you know these are the decks you're going to play against, you can just build your sideboard.
Yeah, it's like I imagine he hasn't used the Sire much today.
Yeah, you probably. And again, he said the worst matchup was Sphinx Revelations type decks.
Yeah.
So the Sire is definitely for that matchup. The extra Rakdos Return is for that matchup.
It's interesting.
The Duresses are for that matchup.
Despite the fact he's not playing Revelations, Matt Costa is still playing the slowest deck of all 8 of the decks in the top 8.
Do you think it's the slowest deck in your deck?
Well, I'm going to read the other ones to you.
All right.
Okay, 4 Mono Blue Devotions.
Okay, Mono Blue Devotion is a very quick deck. Turn 6 kills.
Red White Aggro.
Yep.
White Weenie.
Yep.
Black Green Aggro.
But, yeah, okay, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
He's the slowest of the 8.
So he's essentially the control player of top 8 here.
I know. Shocker.
Yeah. All right. So Costa is shuffling up. Chris is shuffling up. So this is definitely tight. You know, they played a long day. They both got here probably 9 in the morning. I have no clue what time it is now. My guess is somewhere around 11. I could be wrong though.
Right now it's a little after 10.
That's it? 11
Oh,
okay.
yeah, we're going to get done in a reasonable hour.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, just a little after 10. So still, these guys are playing for, I don't want to do the math because I know I'm going to get it wrong, but a lot of hours, we'll say. You know?
Yeah, well, actually, the tournament started at 10, so this is an easy one.
This is an easy way. So if it's
it started
10,
at 10, and if it's 10 now...
This is kind of like that question where if the train goes 50 miles an hour and then comes home going, 20 miles an hour, how long does it take to go to work? It's like one of those SAT questions.
those ones are those are tricky questions.
They are tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so Costa and Chris are ready for game 3. Chris presented his deck. Costa is just about to. And just, doing a last-minute discussion or not.
All right, second update from the top 8. This is our other Mono Blue mirror. Those Blue Devotion mirrors don't take very long. This one, Larry Suriel defeats Jason Grigley 2-0. To note, Larry was the 2 seed in the tournament. So if Costa wins here, Larry will be the highest remaining seed in the tournament and will be on the play throughout.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome.
So if you're Larry, you're rooting for that to happen.
All right, so Costa takes a look at his hand and he says, "I'll keep." And Chris, 7th card, he's putting a couple of lands to the front. I think he's probably going to keep. It looked like he put like 2 lands to the front, 2 or 3 lands to the front. He's thinking about it though. It's really tough to mulligan a hand with 2 or 3 lands where it's game 3 in the top 8, everything's riding on it. Can you really get greedy and ask for a better hand? And you can see Chris is really, really thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in the tank here. Do you think Costa's thinking mulligan, mulligan, mulligan? Is that what's going through his head, or is it just he doesn't really care?
I'm not sure he cares.
Yeah. Knowing Costa, he probably doesn't care. And Chris is going to mulligan. Wow, okay. I wonder what that hand was. All right. We need to get like what was that hand coming across the screen?
We actually, we do.
Yeah, that would be really good. And then we can have a poll. You know, people
would you
could,
keep this hand?
Yeah, would you keep this hand? And we can see like
quick poll.
Yeah.
Keep or mulligan.
Yeah,
We just show a stat on the bottom.
Yeah. So keep mulligan or I don't know. So maybe,
I would click the I don't know button.
Yeah, something like a pie chart. Maybe we could throw up there. All right, and I think Chris is actually telling Costa about it. If I could read lips like my FBI training that I did, I actually didn't do any FBI training, but I think Chris said it was a 1-lander actually. At first, it looked like you started putting some lands to his front, but I could see it being like a kind of a tricky 1-lander.
When you're on the draw, I don't think you can keep a 1-lander against Jund. It seems the problem is it's too likely he's just going to say you have a 1-lander with a bunch of 1-drops.
He has Sylvan Carotid, game over maybe, right?
Or he just removes your 1-drop, and then he removes your next 1-drop.
And then he plays like a Reaper, and
you've just lost. Yeah, the game's over because you weren't fast.
Okay, that's fair. All right, so Chris is going to 6.
Or if you do keep that hand, it shows like a real low level of confidence in your deck because you don't think you can mulligan into something better.
This is actually pretty cool because it looks like Chris like really respects Costa's game, and he's actually telling him, "This was my hand. What would you do here?" You know, and matches like that, and that's something that a player Ben Stark really does. Ben Stark really talks through and really explains everything, and he's really willing to share information. And a lot of players are like that, and it's good because it just makes both players better. Yeah, it really does. All right, so Chris is going to present his deck.
All right, I was hoping you can get a 6. I'd like to see a game here.
Yeah. But we did see a mulligan to 5 before, and the player who mulliganed to 5 did win.
Yeah, Costa was on 6 for game 1.
Yeah.
And he won on 6 on the draw.
Yeah.
So it's Chris's turn to return the favor.
Yeah, all right. So it looks like there's one more match going on back there, but that might just have finished as well.
Yeah, the last match is the aggro mirror between Chris Barone and Dustin Brewer.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens here. All right, so Chris is on 6. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
I see some lands. I see some spells.
Yeah, I think he's going to keep. I think it's a 2-lander.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's good. All right, so and it's got a 1-drop to start off with.
It does have a 1-drop. It has multiple 1-drops. There's a Rakdos Cackler.
It could be the triple 1-drop hand. Remember, there is a sweeper in
Jund. Oh, Sylvan Carotid. That's what we're talking about here.
You said this card. You said if Matt had this on the play, you thought he was a big favorite.
Yeah. Now, do you think he should have played the Fire Drinker just so he could actually get past the Sylvan Carotid on turn?
So he could. I agree. I think he definitely should have played the Fire Drinker because had he played Fire Drinker Satyr, he could attack.
He could attack for it's just 2 damage for free.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because Matt wouldn't block.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. All right, so now does Costa have a Reaper? Sylvan Carotid into Reaper on the play would be so good here. And he has the Reaper.
Turn 3 Reaper. This is
so good for Costa now.
Yeah, even if Chris plays the Fire Drinker Satyr, the only advantage he gets is that Costa will be at 18. This is still a really difficult board for Chris.
Yeah, Chris has to pull something here. I mean, he doesn't even have planes for a Chain to the Rocks if he had one.
Yeah,
so
he'd have to have planes Chained to the Rocks in his hand right now.
I guess he's going to try to 2-for-1 with like a Lightning Strike maybe?
I think even if you don't have the Lightning Strike, you have to bluff here.
Yeah. All right. So Reaper will go in front of the Fire Drinker. Costa will go down to 16, and he'll be able to scry for 1 here.
Yeah, Chris takes a bunch of damage as well. The Fire Drinker Satyr has taken damage this turn.
Yeah, so it's actually the Mizium Mortars.
Yeah, but Chris has to do this. You have to.
He does, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, otherwise the Reaper's just going to win the game by himself.
Yeah, so both players, Costa takes 4, Chris takes 2.
And no, Chris takes 4. They both take 4 there.
We'll take 4.
Yeah.
The drinker took 4 from the Reaper. Yes, absolutely.
Same thing as Jackal Pup.
Yep.
All right, so Costa's going to draw here.
And this is a really good hand from
Charm.
Chris.
Okay. And I think it's going to be a Scavenging Ooze with Golgari Charm backup if he needs it.
Yeah, there's no green up for Matt Costa right now. So
he has a Sylvan Carotid.
He has a Caryatid.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just, it's a good hand from both players, but I think this is a tough matchup. Like, when they both draw really well, I think the matchup just favors Costa.
Yeah, I think so too. And I mean, Chris did mulligan as well.
Absolutely. Even on the mulligan, the hand he's played would have been a good hand on 7. You know, 1-drop into 2
Oh,
more
definitely.
creatures into removal spell 1-drop. Like that's pretty much going to according to plan.
Okay, so there's a lightning strike on the scavenging ooze, and I think
I like
Costa's going
that.
to regenerate his team here. He's going to regenerate that scavenging ooze. Yeah, and that's exactly what he's going to do.
Regenerate his team.
Okay, so now this opens a window for Chris. Chris is going to be able to attack for 6 damage here and bring Costa down to 10.
Yeah,
because
it does
that's
tap the ooze.
And it taps the Sylvan Carotid, which is the important thing.
Yeah, well, he was already tapped from casting Golgari Charm. But yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
So swing for 6 puts Costa to 10.
All right, Costa's
And
going to draw.
No more Placer Butcher. He does not have enough mana to make that Gorehouse Chainwalker.
Costa drew a Mizium Mortars, so he could just shock himself and overload Mizium Mortars this turn?
I think he just does it.
No, he doesn't.
Okay, that's so Matt Costa to not make that play. I'm just gonna like, yeah, I can do that next turn.
Yeah.
Why should I play my spells? When I could not play them.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, I can take 2, no problem. Okay.
Chris will draw Boros Charm, but no white mana.
See, if Chris had a Plains in play, I would say that would serve Matt right to not. But as it is, he's gonna get extra value out of the Mizium
There's
Mortars.
a Chainwalker, yeah, he really is. And he's not going to take that 2 life from that Blood Crypt he would have had to pay.
No, it's.
Yeah. I mean, it worked out for Costa.
It sure did.
All right. And he draws the Forest here. So now he has access to make that Scavenging Ooze a 5/5. So Mizium Mortars Overload, this might be the end for Chris here. He's going to get 4 for 1. And now that Ooze is going to be a 5/5. And Chris is essentially going to be on a 3-turn clock.
All right.
Chris goes down to 11.
Yep, this is our last match of the day. Actually, in our other quarterfinal match, Chris Barone defeats Dustin Brewer. That means he'll be playing his black-green aggro deck against Larry Suriel tomorrow morning.
So there might only be one Chris in the top 4. All right, Chris.
Last one in, Chris
Yeah.
Butcher.
Chris draws Chandra's Phoenix. Will bring Costa down to 11. But I think Chris knows that that overloaded Mizium Mortars was just too much for him.
Yeah, and you can see it on his face.
Yeah. He has 3 in the pool. There's a Chandra's Phoenix. Costa will take it, go down to 11. And that Scavenging Ooze is just going to be
huge.
Unstoppable at this point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Chris needs to draw a Boros Reckoner, and when I say Boros Reckoner, I mean the one that we don't think he boarded in.
Yeah. So
but if he boarded in, out.
Storm Breath Dragon.
And Abrupt Decay is still in
it's
Costa's
exactly
hand.
lethal,
That's
11
lethal.
damage. And that's it. And all right, Matt Costa onto the top 4. Chris, good job. You know, top 8, nothing to scoff at there. He was the #1 seed as well.
Yep, so Matt Costa takes down the #1 seed.